Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today we have unlocked a new angle of my room, so you know what that means. We're doing a new type of video today. Today we are doing a tier list of all of the manga I have read in 2022. I have read a total of 38 different series this year, and that includes things that I've completed, things that are still I'm reading ongoing, things that I've dropped, and things that are still kind of on hold. So yeah, we will be discussing each of them thoroughly, so if I am still reading something, I will mention it just in case the arc that I haven't reached is super groundbreaking and makes or breaks the series, you feel me, then you'll know to judge me based on where I have gotten in the series, So yeah, I want to present you guys with a little bit of statistics for this year in terms of my reading. I did get these ones directly from my anime list because I more or less started logging my manga reading progress on my account in 2022. So yeah, from there it says that I've read over 2,000 chapters of manga and over 200 volumes of manga, which really surprised me. I did not think the number was going to be that high. But then when you take into consideration I did read 3 pretty long-going shonen series like Attack on Titan, Dr. Stone, and Tokyo Revengers. That makes it add up to 90-something volumes just based off of those series alone. So once you put it into that perspective, it kind of makes sense. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how much I have read this year. Of course, we're always going to be aiming to outdo ourselves every year, so maybe we'll reach 250 volumes next year. We'll see. But yeah, let's just get into the tier list. So before we get started, I will give you guys kind of an idea of my ranking system, because on my anime list, my average ranking for both anime and manga is around an 8. So that will kind of translate to a B score on the tier list. So that's usually the score I give something that I really enjoyed or I liked. Obviously those things are not my favorite series, but most series get an 8 for me because I'm not very hard to please. I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to what I read. And going under that, a C is something that I mostly probably enjoyed, but I have some strong opinions about. And then A's are almost favorites. Maybe there's a couple things that I don't love about it. And then S tiers are perfect to me. Perfect doesn't always have to mean there's nothing wrong with it, but for me, perfect typically means that either I recognize the critiques and they don't bother me, or I don't think that the critiques matter as much as everyone complains about them, So with all of that out of the way, let's get started on the first annual 2022 tier list of manga I've read this year. Alright, we will be going through all of the series alphabetically, so we're starting with A Sign of Affection. So, A Sign of Affection, I have read about 5 volumes so far. I'm keeping up with the physical releases, so yeah. I'm gonna put it in B tier simply because, it has not stood out to me very much compared to a lot of other, shoujo romances. Of course, I love that it's in a college setting. I love that the relationship is pretty, wholesome. But for me personally, the wholesome relationships get really tired and boring after a while. And that's kind of where A Sign of Affection was leading me towards. Around volume 4. Once I kind of sat with it, I was I like it. I'm going to keep it and I'm going to keep reading it. But, it's not super exciting to me. I'm not, itching for a new volume, But I think with the end of volume 5, we're kind of going into maybe a conflict. So we'll see. But for A Sign of Affection, medium B tier, Attack on Titan, I do have an entire portion of a manga reading log dedicated to talking about my opinions on Attack on Titan, so I will spare you the details, but for the sake of this, I will be putting it in C tier, and no further discussion will be made on that topic during the video of today, and probably never again on the channel. I don't want to talk about it ever again. Next we have Blood on the Tracks, which also would be C tier, but definitely on the lower end of C tier. I respect the artistry of it. I respect the way that Shuzo Shimi is able to tell a story without even using words. Just the art and the paneling is enough to understand what's going on. I love that's cool. But I just feel at a certain point it just got really absurd and in a comical way, in a bad way. That's definitely not the intention. But But I will say, you know, they have announced that the first like 13 volumes of Blood on the Tracks was actually the prologue to the overarching story, which is like what's currently releasing right now. So definitely, once that ends, I will definitely be reading it, because like there's no way all of that stuff that happened in the first 13 volumes was just the prologue of what's to come. Like there's no way that kid's messed up after that. Like, come on. I'm interested, but I don't think it was very good. I don't think Shuzo Oshimi's work is for me personally. But like at the end of the day, I'm still checking out the second half. Next we have Blue Flag. I'm gonna put Blue Flag in A tier. It was something that I read recently that I really thoroughly enjoyed, and that's all there is to it. I just thought it was pretty good. It was an interesting twist on like a love triangle slash like love square type of thing. So I really like Blue Flag. Blue Period, on the other hand, I will be putting in C tier. I did drop this one after 3 volumes. It just wasn't speaking to me very much. But that's not to say I didn't like it. Like, I definitely think it would be more on the upper end of C tier. I think that it's a good series. It just wasn't, like, clicking with me, so sometimes you just gotta let things go. Next we have Boys Run the Riot, which I'm going to put in A as well. I really enjoyed that one. Chainsaw Man, I'm putting in S tier. It's one of my, like, recent favorite things, so without a doubt, it's going in S tier. Chainsaw Man is something that I never thought I would like as well. I was always like kind of avoiding reading it just because like it's super gory and super like actiony, and like that's not usually my vibe. But there's something about the characters and the way that they're developed and the way that like the whole devil hunting concept is developed in the series that makes it just so charming in a way. And yeah, it's been really strong. You know, part 2 started this year, and that's been really great. And even the anime released the first season of the anime, and that was also great. I feel like the anime, I like the anime because it's not like a one-to-one adaptation, if that makes sense. Like, obviously the storyline is the same, but I feel like the way that we're receiving the information is different. So I feel like if you read the manga, you'll be able to watch the anime and be like, wow, this feels new, you know what I mean? And the same other way around, like if you watch the anime, I really implore you to read the manga, because I think that you'll get a different experience with it. Yeah, and that's super cool. I just think Chainsaw Man was so well done this year. Like, Chainsaw Man has done excellently this year, and I cannot wait to see what goes on in 2023 for it, because I'm on board. Yes. Next we have Chibi Vampire, which I'm going to put in A tier, but towards the end of A tier, simply because, you know, it was one of the first series that, like, I started collecting, like, getting into when I got back into manga this year. And I really did enjoy it when I read it, but I just feel like there's a lot of other things on this list that I have read recently that I think are a bit better than it. For example, like, Blue Flag, I think is better in some ways, and that's why it is ahead of Chibi Vampire, but they're in the same tier, you know. So yeah, but I do really recommend Chibi Vampire. I feel like it's really underrated. It is a romance supernatural type of series about a girl who's a vampire, but like kind of not really, but then she meets this boy, and like, yeah, it's cute. I love. A tier. Next we have Dandadan, which is something I'm quite conflicted about, because, you know, on one hand, I read the first volume. It came out in like October, so I'm just gonna keep up with it physically. I don't know how long that will be for. I might switch to the Shonen Jump app, well, Shonen Jump website for it, but yeah, so I read the first volume and it was good. I really enjoyed it. Like, I think it's really wacky and funny, but like the way that Momo was like over sexualized in the first chapter made me extremely uncomfortable. So I'm gonna put in C tier just because of that. Honestly, like, it was really intense. If you've read the first chapter, then you know that like it was pretty intense. But next we have Death Note, which is something I go back and forth about, because, you know, I think Death Note is a really well done series. Like, I think the storyline and like all of the like loopholes and stuff that everyone goes through in order to figure out the mystery, like the L and Light battle, excellent. Like, it's so suspenseful. I love it. However, my issue with Death Note comes through the fact that I don't have like a strong emotional connection to any of the characters in Death Note. Like, for example, if I look at Chainsaw Man, for example, which is the like only S tier on the list right now. Like, I think of Chainsaw Man and I think of Denji. Denji's my son. I think of Power. I loved Power. I think of Aki. Like, Aki's my favorite character in the series. I think of them as a trio. Like, the Hayakawa family is so important to me. I think of Asa. She's just like me for real. You know, there's so many characters that I'm, like, so emotionally connected to, but I can't say the same for Death Note. So with that, I'm gonna put Death Note at the end of B tier because I still, like, the story's S tier to me, but the characters are, like, D tier. So that kind of balances out. Next we have Dengeki Daisy, which is something I also read that surprised me because I'm not one for age gaps, but I just kind of picked this one up kind of on a whim, and like the first half of the series was so good. Like, I loved their character bond. I loved the mystery aspects to it, but I just felt like the first half of the series solved the plot. Like, there was no need to continue on further, but the parts after that have been so slow and like hard for me to get into that like I honestly have not read a Dengeki Daisy chapter in a really long time. Like, I should really consider the series dropped, but I haven't like logged it as such because like I want to leave out hope that I will revisit it someday because the first half was so good. Like, if we were thinking just the first half, I think it would be an A tier. But like I can't let it live in A tier knowing that I haven't read it in months. So I'm gonna put it in B tier. Definitely above Death Note though. Because like the characters in Dengeki Daisy were more interesting to me. Okay, Dr. Stone, S tier for sure. Probably my favorite shonen series. Like, I think that the pacing is really good. The characters are also really good. Like, I think the dynamic of like, oh, the characters that lived prior to the I forget the word, the beam. Sure. The characters that were alive prior to the beam and the characters that have lived after the beam, like coming together and like talking amongst each other is super interesting. And I just think that like the concept of the science stuff is super unique and we don't see that type of stuff very often. Dr. Stone's just really, really strong, and we're going to see the end of it in the physicals this coming year in 2023, and I'm super excited to see how it ends. Gonna be so sad though. Fruits Basket, number 1. Fruits Basket is always going to have my heart. It is such an impactful story about all these different characters and all the struggles that they've been throughout their lives. And you get to see so many different backstories that get fleshed out so well to me. And it's like, it's a pretty long series, but I think that it wraps itself up quite nicely. I would have maybe liked to see a little more, but like, you know, for the sake of this, that's where I say, like, you know, I think things are perfect, but I don't agree with the criticisms. Like, I think people think the ending's rushed, but I think with all things considered, the ending was really good. And I just love Fruits Basket. It's my number 1 series. Great. Next, we have How Do We Relationship. I've only read the first volume of this, but I was, like, honestly quite impressed with it. I'm actually going to put it in B tier towards the top. The one thing about it that's really interesting is that, like, while I was reading it, I low-key felt like the 2 main characters did not have any chemistry. But, like, I think it's for a reason, you know? Like, usually if I'm reading a romance series and I don't think that the 2 characters have good chemistry, then I'll, like, drop it. But I think that in this series it works because, you know, they're trying to get their footings in a relationship. That's why it's called How to Be Relationship. It's like them trying to figure out how to be in a relationship with one another. So I think the lack of a chemistry is a really interesting detail, and I'm super excited to see where that takes it in the future. So definitely high B tier with potential to maybe grow in 2023. Next we have I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which I'm going to put in S tier. That was a very impactful 2-volume, 20-something chapter series that I really, really loved. And I think that the bond between the 2 main characters was really beautiful, and I think the ending was really nice as well. Next we have Kitchen Princess, which is another thing that I've been pretty excited about recently. I think I will put it above How to Be Relationship just because I have read more of Kitchen Princess. I have read like maybe 4-ish volumes of it, but I stopped right as she kind of like was making the connections between the people she knows now and the people she knew in the past, and like the love triangle is starting to kind of take shape. So we'll have to see what happens past that. I'm trying to look into maybe getting the volumes, but I don't know. So we'll see. Pretty excited about it though. It kind of exceeded my expectations a little bit. Next we have Lovesick Ellie, which I'm also gonna put in B tier. I've read 2 volumes of this. It's pretty good. I feel like the humor can be kind of an acquired taste, but as a like stan Twitter user, I think that it is hilarious, and seeing her have so many embarrassing moments is just so funny to me, personally. So, yeah. Next we have Mamotte Lollipop, which is something I kind of think I was a little too harsh on when I first talked about it on the channel. I dropped it after like 9 chapters or something. But you know what? Like, I don't hate it that much. It's going in C tier, above Blood on the Tracks. Mostly because I like the art in Mamotte Lollipop. But yeah, not the greatest shoujo out there. Won't be looking for the volumes. They're quite hard to find. It's not that serious, but you know, it's fun. Next we have Mars, which on the other hand is a very, very excellent shoujo series and will be going in S tier. We love that for them. Next we have My Dress Up Darling, which I have very conflicted opinions on these days. The first few volumes were quite good, but the relationship has kind of came to a halt in favor of the cosplay storyline being developed, which is fine. Like, at the end of the day, it is a series about cosplay, but it would be nice to see those 2 things develop together instead of separately. Like, you don't have to put the relationship on the back burner in order to develop the cosplay, and other way around as well. I think that the author needs to do a better job of balancing it, but other than that, like, I'm still gonna keep up with it. I still enjoy when a new chapter comes out. But for now, it's gonna be on the lower end of B tier. And next we have Ouran High School Host Club, which is something I've read like 5 volumes of so far, but I haven't really gotten to any content that's outside of the anime yet. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I don't really know whether getting past the anime content is going to make it go up on the tier list or lower on the tier list. I guess that's something we'll find out next year. But yeah, I think I'm going to put it there. I think I like the comedy in Ouran High School Host Club a little bit better than Lovesick Ellie, simply because there's more characters to work with in Ouran High School Host Club, so it makes the comedy more dynamic. Whereas in Lovesick Ellie, it's literally just the 2 main leads. Yep. Our Precious Conversations kind of bombed in my opinion. In my manga reading log, I said that like I was lukewarm about it, but as I've kind of sat with it for a little bit, I kind of feel like I don't like it. The conversations were quite boring. The developments weren't that great. The art style is quite pretty though. But I think it's taking the cake as my least favorite manga read this year. Next we have Paradise Kiss, which was quite the opposite of my favorite read this year. Definitely in my top 10 favorite series of all time. Loved Paradise Kiss. Almost love it more than Nana. But I haven't read Nana yet. That's something you will see in 2023. I've only watched the anime for Nana, and then I've only read the manga for Paradise Kiss. So that's what we're working with. But love Ayazawa. Great, great, great manga. And Parasyte as well, going into S tier. We love Parasyte in this house. I think that the anime as well as the manga are both really well done. Back to kind of like the anime manga comparison thing. I think that, not to say, I don't think that you get 2 completely different experiences whether you read the Parasyte manga or watch the anime, but I think that the anime adaptation does a really good job of like modernizing Parasyte, because you know, Parasyte's pretty old. I think it came out in like the 80s, and you can tell by the character designs, like the way that they look is very 80s to me. But I think with the anime, they like modernized the designs of everyone. Specifically, like the female lead, that I don't remember her name. I love her, she's a girl boss, but I don't remember her name. She like went through a big overhaul in her design in the anime. Like, she has a bob. But in the manga, her hair is more short than a bob. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, I think that the new pair, like, you can't go wrong with either choice that you make. I think I personally like the anime just a little bit more, but the manga was still excellent. S tier. Next we have Pokemon Adventures. I'm going to put that in A tier as well, more towards the end of it, just simply because I haven't gotten too deep into it. I only read the red, blue, green arc, but I think that Pokemon Adventures does a really good job of taking like the elements of Pokemon, such as from the games or from the anime, and kind of like putting its own twist on it in a manga format. It's definitely darker than the prior to mentioned Pokemon media forms, so I really enjoy it. I think it's really good for like the older Pokemon audience. And the editions, the collector's editions of Pokemon Adventures are really beautiful as well. So looking forward to getting more into that in the 2023. Next we have QQ Sweeper, which I really, really love. I need to get back into it. I only read the first volume, but I don't know why I'm procrastinating because I really liked it. I'm going to put it there. Yep, in B tier, simply because again, I haven't gotten that deep. I feel like a lot of B tier is like series I haven't gotten too deep into, but like I am really anticipating future releases. So that's where QQ Sweeper is. Another thing I think has strong potential to grow with Queen's Quality in 2023. Super excited about that. Next we have Sailor Moon, which is something that I read this year. And, you know, I grew up with it and I recognize the impact that Sailor Moon has on like anime and like specifically like shoujo magical girl series, but I don't think it's like great, you know? So I'm actually gonna put it in, I feel like if you're going based on, you know, impact, you would definitely have to put it in at least A tier, but I think today I'm gonna put it in B tier. Definitely towards the top of B tier, simply because like I actually think it's better than a lot of the things on B tier, but yeah. Next we have Shugo, which is another thing I read this year that I wasn't super impressed by. Just some of the tropes didn't age well, like the age gap, insane. I thought the age gap was insane when, like, I was Amu's age when I like got into it, right? So I was like 11. And the thought of like a high schooler liking her made me uncomfortable back then. So you can imagine how uncomfortable I am now. Yeah, but I don't know. I think I want to watch the anime for it soon because I feel like the anime is better than the manga. I feel like you can say that about a lot of the magical girl series from this time period, like Tokyo Mew Mew, Mermaid Melody. I think both of those animes are better than their manga counterparts. So, yeah. Next we have Solanin, which going straight to S tier. No debate about that. I really loved Solanin. And, you know, I love Solanin so much that I really think I'm ready for Goodnight Poom Poom. I do have the first volume, but I've been holding off. But I really do genuinely think I'm ready for it. So maybe in 2023 we will get into Goodnight Poom Poom. I'm kind of nervous though. Okay, next we have Soul Eater, which I'm going to put in A tier because it's Soul Eater and it's great. And Spy Family, it's also going to go in A tier because I love it and it's great. Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, I'm going to put in A tier because you never guess. I love it and it's great. Although I haven't gotten too deep into Toilet Bound Hanako-kun because I only had the first 3 volumes and they announced the box set, so I'm gonna get the box set. The box set comes out in May, but they're doing a reboot of the anime, and I don't know when that comes out, but I really hope that it comes out before, or I mean after the box set, so I can read it, so I can be ahead of the curve when the anime comes out, because the anime is gonna be a reboot that follows the manga line more closely. It's gonna be so much fun. We're gonna have a Toilet Bound full of a 2023 just full of toilets, you feel me? Just, I'm so excited. Next we have Tokyo Mew Mew, which I'm gonna put in C tier, because again, I think the anime does a better job of adapting fights and stuff. But I still really love Tokyo Mew Mew, like, it has a very strong place in my heart for what it's worth. And next we have Tokyo Revengers, which, this shouldn't come to as a surprise, but I'm putting it in S tier. I know that the ending was definitely an ending, you feel me? Like, there's definitely no more chapters that come out after what was released, but I'm not in the camp. I don't personally really like the ending very much. I don't mind, like, the event of the ending, but I hate the way that it was developed. I just hate the way that everything was developed in that last arc. Like, I don't think the events that took place were bad. I just think the way it was executed was bad, you know? But I just feel like it's so unfair to give Tokyo Revengers anything lower than S tier in my rankings, simply because of, like, how impactful all of the other arcs were, and how impactful all the other characters were for me. Like, I'm a very character-driven reader, so, like, if the characters are good, then I can get through anything, really. And I just think that that's where Tokyo Revengers excels. You know, there's so many different bonds between everyone that, like, is so special to me, you know, like Mikey and Draken, even like Draken and Mitsuya and Hakai, and then even like the Thousand Winters group of like Hakai, Chifuyu, Takemichi, and then obviously Chifuyu, Takemichi themselves, Chifuyu, Baji, Kazutora. There's just so many different combinations that you can come up with that have like such interesting stories behind them, and I think it's so beautiful, and it's really unfair that it's getting such a bad rep because of 2 chapters, you know? It's so sad, but it is what it is. Next we have Welcome to the NHK. It kind of has the same issue as Chibi Vampire in that I read it towards the beginning of my like reading this year, and I really liked it back then, but I think I've read a lot of other things that do things better than it, you know? So I'm going to put it in B tier. Towards the end of B tier, like around there is good. Witch Hat Atelier is something I recently read like within the last month, and it is so freaking good. The world building is excellent. I usually like steer pretty far away from fantasy series, especially ones that don't take place on Earth, because it's like really hard for me to like immerse myself, especially because there's a lot of information that they have to feed you in order for you to know what is going on. But I think Witch Hat Atelier does it in a really nice way. The magic system, pretty easy to understand, and like they make it easy to understand because it has to do with the storyline, and all the girls are just so cute, and like I just want the best for all of the little witch princesses. They are so cute and darling to me. But their master, that's my boy. We're getting kind of, I'm like at volume 5 or 6, and like so we're getting into kind of the mystery surrounding him, and I need to know his secrets. He kind of reminds me of like Gojo in a way. Not to say that Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, I don't dislike Gojo, but like he's not like my favorite. A lot of people simp for him and love him a lot. That's me with the guy from Witch Hat Atelier. That man, he's everything to me. I'm excited for. I'm reading for him specifically. You feel me? Not really, but for the joke. Okay, Witch Hat Atelier is going in A tier. Just under Soul Eater, simply because Soul Eater. But them two, I feel like, are quite similar. Soul Eater, Witch Hat Atelier, and Totally Bound hanako-kun are like in the same row to me. Like if we were to make an A, never mind. I'm gonna stop talking. Wotakoi. I'm gonna put this one also. My issue with Wotakoi is mostly comes from the fact that I just feel like there's so much more they could have done with conflict resolution. Like we had our first conflict resolution in the final volume, and it was really good. Like, I don't understand why we didn't have any other conflict resolutions. Especially with the second couple, they needed a lot of conflict resolutions. They had a lot of conflicts and not a lot of resolutions. And I feel like I would have enjoyed that couple more if they had, like, more resolutions. But overall, I think for what it's worth, I really, really love Wotakoi. So, I'm gonna put in B tier, though. Probably around here, in B tier. And then lastly, we have Yakuza Fiance, which is something I only read the first volume of because it just came out this past month. So, but I'm really looking forward to future volumes as well. So I'm gonna put it here for now, with strong potential to grow in the future. Let's even this out. I'm gonna put Death Note. Death Note's gonna go in C tier. I'm so sorry for all the Death Note fans. Honestly, I think NHK could also go in C tier. I think Sailor Moon could go in A tier. Okay, I think this is good. It's more or less even. So I think this is a good... This is my tier list of all the manga I've read this year. So, just to recap, we have, for S tier, Fruits Basket, Dr. Stone, Tokyo Revengers, Chainsaw Man, Paradise Kiss, Mars, Parasyte, Solanin, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Cool. For A tier, we have Spy Family, Blue Flag, Boys Run the Riot, Soul Eater, Witch Hat Atelier, Totally Bound hanako-kun, Chibi Vampire, Pokemon Adventures, and Sailor Moon. For B tier, we have Kitchen Princess, How Do We Relationship, A Sign of Affection, QQ Sweeper, Wotakoi, Yakuza Fiance, Ouran High School Club, Lovesick Ellie, Dengeki Daisy, and My Dress Up Darling. And lastly, for C tier, we have Welcome to the NHK, Death Note, Tokyo Mew Mew, Dandadan, Blue Period, Attack on Titan, Shugo, mamotte lollipop, Blood on the Tracks, and our precious conversations. And nothing reached D tier this year. I did not hate anything I read. So that's always a plus. We always love a lack of hatred for things. But yeah, that will be the end of my tier list for this year. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment down below your favorite series that you've picked up or finished this year. My favorites would probably have to be Tokyo Revengers, which is something I discovered this year, Chainsaw Man I discovered this year, Paradise Kiss, and Mars. Those are like my top 4 things that I've read and discovered this year that really stood out to me, and I think all of them are in my top 10. Not that that's like a hard competition to win right now. And leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you also enjoy any of the series that I have discussed on this tier list. And I will see you guys in 2023 with more content. Bye bye.